A few years ago, people had hobbies. Today, most people have a screen, and although that sounds like a simple observation, it actually reveals something much deeper and far more concerning. You pick up your phone for what you believe will be just 5 minutes, and when you finally look up again, nearly an hour has disappeared. You open a social media app just to check something, and suddenly your energy feels drained. Your focus fades away, and you're left with that strange combination of distraction and guilt. Now imagine that pattern repeating itself every single day, every week, every month, for years. That is not a hypothetical scenario. It is the reality for millions of people right now. But here's the part that almost nobody talks about. While a large portion of people are spending their free time consuming endless content, there is a much smaller group doing something very different. These individuals are using their free time to build something that generates value and, often, income. There are people who started drawing simply because they enjoyed it, and today they sell their art. Others began cooking as a hobby and eventually built channels, published ebooks, offered coaching, or created physical and digital products. Some started writing, photographing, editing videos, gaming, organizing spaces, training their bodies, sewing, gardening, or diving into specific areas of study, and over time, they discovered that these hobbies could evolve into real sources of income. That is exactly why you need to stay with me until the end of this video, because what we are discussing here is not just about fun activities or ways to pass the time. This is about a shift in mindset that can directly impact your finances, your daily routine, your creativity, and even your mental well-being. A hobby is not just a distraction or something you do to relax. When chosen intentionally and developed consistently, it can become a powerful source of energy, a shield against digital burnout, and in many cases, a gateway to making money. So, before we go deeper, if you enjoy practical content about money, growth, and building a better life, take a second to hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications. Also, consider sharing this video with someone who has a hobby they've been ignoring, because this might be exactly what they need to hear. Now let's move forward. Let me ask you something honestly. How many hours of your day are spent looking at a screen, and how much money actually comes back into your life because of that time? It's an uncomfortable question, but it's an important one, because the issue isn't just about wasted time, it's about what that time is doing to your mind. When you constantly consume without creating, without practicing, without building anything tangible, you are essentially training your brain to remain passive. When people hear the phrase, hobbies that make money, they usually jump straight to the financial side of things, which is understandable. But before we even talk about money, we need to address something more fundamental. What happens when you don't have a hobby at all? When your time is dominated by short-form content, constant notifications, and endless scrolling. Your brain begins to crave stimulation at all times. Everything needs to be fast, exciting, effortless, or entertaining. And when that becomes your baseline, normal activities start to feel unbearable. Reading a book feels harder than it should. Learning something new feels slow and frustrating. Practicing a skill feels tedious. Creating something from scratch feels exhausting. This shift is subtle at first, but over time, it becomes a serious problem. Because building wealth, developing a business, gaining authority, or achieving any kind of meaningful success requires focus, patience, and repetition. And when your brain is conditioned to expect constant stimulation, those essential abilities begin to weaken. People start wanting results without the process. They want money without skill, growth without consistency, success without discomfort. And that's where hobbies come into play in a completely different way than most people imagine. A real hobby is not just entertainment, it is training. It forces you to engage, to practice, to make mistakes, to adjust, to improve, and to experience real progress. Whether you are cooking, writing, photographing, editing videos, drawing, playing an instrument, training your body, learning a language, or developing any other skill, a hobby can retrain your brain to move away from passive consumption and return to active creation. And that alone would already make it valuable. But the truth is, it goes even further than that. Many hobbies have the potential to generate income much faster than people expect. The market pays for results, for transformation, and for attention. If your hobby can help people solve a problem, learn something new, feel entertained, save time, or improve their lives in any way, then there is potential for monetization. This means that what you currently see as just a hobby could actually be the foundation for your next income stream. Now, let's take a step back and look at the bigger picture, because hobbies are becoming even more important in the world we live in today. We are in an era where attention is constantly under attack. Your phone is competing for your focus. Platforms are competing for your time. Algorithms are competing for your habits. And now, with the rise of artificial intelligence, many tasks are being automated faster than ever before. So what remains valuable in this environment? Human creativity, human personality, human judgment, human originality, human connection. And interestingly enough, hobbies tend to develop exactly those qualities. When you engage in a hobby, whether it's creative, physical, or intellectual, you are strengthening the parts of yourself that machines cannot easily replicate. You are building something uniquely human. This is why a hobby is not a distraction from your career. In many cases, it is a hidden advantage that can accelerate your career in ways you don't immediately realize. However, there is a critical mistake that people often make when they begin to see the potential of their hobbies, and it's one that destroys progress very quickly. People discover something they enjoy, they begin to improve, and then they rush to monetize it too early and in the wrong way. They take something that was fun and immediately turn it into pressure. Suddenly, it has to generate income. It has to attract followers. It has to grow fast. It has to produce results. It has to look successful. And in the process, the enjoyment disappears. The hobby becomes stressful, consistency fades, and momentum is lost. If you truly want to turn a hobby into something that generates money, you need to respect the natural progression. First, you build skill. Then you build consistency. Then you build proof. Only after that do you begin to monetize more seriously, because money tends to flow more easily when value has already been established. Think about cooking as an example. If someone barely knows the basics and immediately tries to sell a course, they will struggle. But if they spend time cooking, experimenting, improving, sharing their process, understanding what people appreciate, and refining their skills, opportunities begin to appear organically. The same principle applies to writing, photography, fitness, gaming, design, and almost any other hobby. So instead of forcing money too early, focus on building real value first. From there, monetization becomes much more natural and sustainable. Now, when it comes to choosing a hobby that can actually make money, the possibilities are much broader than most people think. Creative hobbies such as photography, writing, video editing, design, music, and art can evolve into services, digital products, content platforms, or personal brands. Knowledge-based hobbies like reading, studying finance, learning languages, or exploring technology can become courses, newsletters, consulting opportunities, or educational content. Physical hobbies like fitness, sports, or running can turn into coaching, community building, and content creation. Practical hobbies such as cooking, organizing, gardening, or reselling can directly solve real-life problems, which makes them highly valuable. And community-based hobbies, including gaming, collectibles, or niche interests, can attract audiences and create monetization opportunities through content, products, or services. The world is full of hobbies that can generate income. The difference is that most people never take them seriously enough to explore their full potential. So how do you choose the right one? Instead of asking which hobby makes the most money, ask yourself which one you can enjoy consistently enough to become good at it. Look for something that gives you energy, helps you learn, connects you with others, or allows you to express yourself. The best hobbies often combine more than one of these elements. Once you choose, the most important step is to start. Not tomorrow, not next week, but today. You don't need a perfect plan, expensive equipment, or deep expertise. You need action. Choose something, spend time learning how others are monetizing it, and then practice it. Repeat that process consistently. Because in the long run, consistency will always outperform intensity. At the same time, you need to protect yourself from one of the biggest obstacles: comparison. When beginners compare themselves to experts, they lose motivation quickly. Your early attempts will not be perfect, and that's exactly how it should be. The goal is not to appear successful immediately, but to become valuable over time. Now imagine where you could be 1 year from today. You could still be spending hours scrolling, or you could have developed a skill, built a side income, strengthened your focus, and opened new opportunities. The time will pass either way. The difference is how you choose to use it. Hobbies are not just a way to fill your time. They can become a source of joy, discipline, confidence, connection, and, yes, income. And as we come to the end of this video, I want to remind you of something important. Life does not have to be limited to paying bills, consuming content, and waiting for the weekend. There is a part of you that still wants to create, learn, build, and grow. Maybe that part of you has been waiting for one simple decision: to stop consuming all the time and start creating something real. So if this video gave you a new perspective, don't forget to like, subscribe, turn on notifications, and share it with someone who needs a better direction right now. And now I want to hear from you. What hobby could you start today that might make money